Good day, everyone. So today I've got Ian with me, and we'll be covering the September electionals, or as known as auspicious dates. But firstly, we will actually touch on the overall main changes in terms of energy for the month of September. And for this video that you're watching, it is the sneak peek in which you will get to know the overall astro weather, which we'll go in a minute to discuss. And then you will gain access to 2 out of the 7 charts that we've chosen. So good day, Ian. How's it going?
Good day to everyone. Yeah, I'm a bit maybe sleepy because of the full moon. Usually full moons do that for me, but generally pumped to do this. I'm always excited when I get to talk and discuss astrology and charts.
Oh yeah, we are taping so close to the full moon actually, and I've been feeling kind of, my sleep patterns all distorted, but that's fine. I can always take a nap after this.
Exactly.
So shall we jump into the astro weather overview for September?
Let's jump in. There's a lot of changes going on.
Yeah, and I think that the first main one is right behind me, which is Mars and Venus. And Venus actually enters Scorpio, a sign which, you know, she doesn't necessarily function very well in. It's actually in a sign of detriment. I think it's on September the 10th. And then 6 days later on September 16 or 17, depending where you are, Mars will actually enter Libra. So in astrology, this is what we call like a mutual reception. That means Mars is occupying the sign of Venus rulership, and vice versa. Venus is actually occupying the sign of Mars's rulership. So when I actually think about Mars and Venus in mutual reception, but they're both in detriment, this is a very interesting one. Because the thing is, when I think about this combo, depending whether you're a man or woman, if you talk about a man, it tends to be more like philandering, kind of.
Okay.
And if you're a woman, in which you perhaps, or female energy, because now we're in the 21st century, guys can have more feminine energy within as well. They can adopt a more kind of take no prisoners approach. But I just want to mention that like from the 16th to 17th of September onwards to the rest of September, when this mutual reception is fully active, this can be kind of, you got to thread waters that's potentially turbulent. And potential power struggles in relationships may well be on its way when I see these 2 planets in mutual reception. And it also can be a very lusty and passionate time as well, when I think about this combo.
Yeah, I mean, already Venus into kind of Scorpio, it kind of adds to the lustiness. But I have to say, it's a weird one, because it's a, whenever Venus is in Scorpio, it's like, especially if we're talking about the lusty desire part of ourselves, it's like people want to do it deep down in a subconscious level. And the intellectual part of the brain is kind of suppressing that. So sometimes the suppression gets so big, and it kind of like the desire comes out in some sort of hidden ways behind the scenes, and kind of, you know, maybe sometimes distorted. I'm not going to judge, you know, you do your thing, whatever it is that you do. But there is an element of suppression here with the desire and Venus in Scorpio. This is what I wanted to say.
I mean, I find Venus in Scorpio as kind of like a paradox, because on one hand, because it's Venus, it still desires that belonging. But then with the Scorpio bit, it seeks to challenge relationships as much as it desires belonging, which I find it like a bit of a paradoxical energy in itself.
Yeah, I really like
And,
that.
and Venus in Scorpio actually is quite comfortable in relationships that change or transform, or there's a kind of like power struggles actually turn them on.
Yeah, totally. I think I would even go as far as to say, because I have a lot of experience with Venus in Scorpio,
Right.
and I would even go as far as to say when it's in a person's chart, let's say natal chart, and globally, if we have it in a general transit, the person is almost subconsciously yearning for those power struggles, yearning for those kind of cheating games. Let's put it nicely. Let's put it very nicely. It's almost like a subconscious desire or pull towards those. So I'm not saying like every time Venus goes into Scorpio, everybody's going to cheat. Not right. At all. But like there's a desire for those hidden things, hidden pieces in relationships. Let's put it that way.
I'm actually thinking about like domicile Venuses versus Venus in signs of detriment, because when I think about domicile Venuses, it's more like it's gentler in terms of like enviousness, whereas if I think about Venus in detriment sign, it's more of like jealousy, which can easily spin out of control depending on other factors, of course, but in particular when Venus is in detriment, it's like this the enhancement of needing to push the external validation outwards, and that in the process actually elicits or bring about their power struggles even more strongly for them.
Yeah, I think I like that, what you said. Yeah.
And how about what you think about Mars in Libra?
Mars in Libra is what I constantly see is people are still, when we talk again, I usually always bring the natal perspective, and whatever happens natally usually happens a little bit weaker in a transit kind of way. So what I mean by that is when there's Mars in Libra transit, the kind of doubting of your actions that the person has natally at times with Mars in Libra, it will happen on a not so intense level globally, but it is still there. There's a hint of like, should I do this? Should I go there? Should I even do anything? It's almost like that. And it's even the part of what I've seen is the kind of like the aggressive side, and this can depending on what side of the spectrum you are, the aggressive side of Mars is a bit tamed, but it's almost like it's tamed too much, I would say. Like it's not totally suppressed, but it's kind of like, because Libra is a lot to do with the public and the others, and it's very often it's
wanting to be seen as the good guy.
Yes, very good. Like wanting to really be seen, and whenever you want to be seen as the good guy, it's really hard to take charge and take action, because a lot of people don't really like that. if the one person is going like full force and maybe domineering a little bit too much. So but the downside here is like doubting your actions maybe at times too much.
I've actually like thought about Mars and Libra, which is in a sign of detriment, and because actually my dad has got Mars in Libra conjunct Neptune.
Oh, okay.
So I've observed him how he's quite evasive, but that's the Neptunian bit. But when I just want to isolate Mars and Libra, Mars is in a sign of sidestepping. It may kind of start little like small conflicts, but then they never quite get to the root of addressing the main issue and solve it, because Mars is the planet of like the problem solver.
Yeah.
And in Libra, it's like everything is very wanting to be seen as the good guy. And everything is very diplomatic. So nothing really gets to the core of it. And Libra can be, I must say, can be a superficial sign as well. On the surface, it looks good and it's fine. Just kind of like throw everything else under the blanket, like under the carpet. You know what I mean? And
yeah. Sorry.
So
go ahead.
Being terrified of addressing the main issue is the problem here. And so they may kind of like just tackle what's on the surface, very superficial level, but they never quite go deep enough with that. And so whatever that they attempt to resolve, it doesn't really most of the time, actually, it doesn't necessarily end with some kind of permanent change. It's almost like sticking a band-aid over the issue. The problem can actually fester later on. They will just kind of like go back to it and try to fix things and all that.
I think I really like what you said about the diplomacy part, because I think this is where the diplomacy part really gets in the way of the let's say the positive side of Mars, because it's very often I've seen people with this is they're kind of like they've been taught that showing, taking action, taking charge, maybe being a little bit more aggressive, being more direct, even more direct with their desires, and on a deeper level, on an emotional level, like expressing anger is wrong. So this is what I mean by the Libra being a very diplomatic, like you said, wanting to be the good guy, they're wanting to be the seen as, I'm, okay with everything, and, wanting to be accepted by the public, wanting to be accepted by the others. And this is where the Mars energy gets kind of suppressed down. And
so you reckon
it's not
it'll be
maybe
like
the best.
really good at holding on to anger?
But this is this I've seen this
care and love for years and years to come. Like they may not easily kind of let that come out, because Mars is really expressing the anger out, right? In its detriment, it's like, the tendency to kind of hold it in.
Exactly. I've literally seen people who think it's wrong. It's totally like it's wrong to express anger, and at the same time, this is the curious part. At the same time, they're really angry. Like they're really pissed off inside. And even if I've asked them, like, are you pissed off? Are you really angry? Yes. But I don't, I'm not, I don't know if it's okay to express it,
It's almost like the anger is it's like latent anger, but when it comes up or really like explodes like a volcano, it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And they know the anger is there, it's in their knowing body, but then it's being held inside. But because when I think about it, it's like Mars is in the sign of Saturn's exaltation in Libra.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a kind of like holding on to it until it's like, it's just like, the steam just comes out from, between their head, like through the years.
This is, yeah, I think this is the problem with it. Like one day it will come out in some shape or form,
How about forgiveness though? Because Mars is like, when I think about Mars and its home sign, it just kind of moves on. Like when I think about detriment, Mars is like the forgiveness, they tend to keep on to resentment of sorts longer than they should.
Because they're not expressing what they're actually experiencing there.
I think so as well.
Okay.
As long as the oppression kind of still exists within them, the anger never quite goes away.
Yeah, I got it
as well. So how about that mutual reception? What do you think, like, between Mars and Venus? Because those, both of them are like relationship-based planets.
It is, it's usually we like the mutual reception, and we want mutual reception, and I'm kind of, I guess I'm a bit conflicted in this case because they're so a bit in a tough spot. I'm not going to lie. So I tend to agree that there can be I would say more conflicts. Maybe even the problem I see here with these both energies kind of matching and being in mutual reception is like it's both are kind of like suppression in different ways. There's suppression. Venus in Scorpio is kind of like suppression of desire, suppression of good things.
Yeah,
suppression
the desire body is so strong, right?
Yeah. And now we're going to the other side, and the Libra suppresses the like the physical action of desire, and it's a kind of a cocktail. I guess what I'm trying to say to people and to urge people is to kind of really be aware of what is happening during this September, maybe part of October. Are you like, what are you really wanting? What are you really desiring? Is there something you're not saying to the other person? Are you not expressing yourself clearly? What is it that you're actually desiring and wanting to take action on? And if you start to find that balance and ask those questions, I think it will be easier to navigate those kind of like almost both suppressing sides of different coins. Let's put it that way.
I think if we actually kind of combine the bits of what we talked about regarding Venus in Scorpio and Mars in Libra, if you've not been addressing the issues in relationships, then there's a tendency it's like, okay, I give up. I shall go and like cheat and just make myself feel good for a moment. And that's when like the turbulence and the power struggles in relationships with this kind of pairing will be like felt or manifested. This may not only apply for like personal relationships, but also in business relationships. Maybe you just want to like, oh, I don't want to confront my current business partner, and hence I go behind his or her back to kind of form a deal with someone else, which I more strongly feel that it will work out. And this can kind of bring up trust issues. With this combination, I find trust issues always come up.
And I'm glad that you actually mentioned, because I think one of the keys here is working them out, because again, what
or
Donny
the lack
mentioned,
of trying to working it out in the person's face.
what you mentioned, I think during the beginning was, Venus in Scorpio really likes when things evolve, things change in a relationship, things transform. So this is an interesting time to kind of transform those partnerships, be personal business, kind of going deeper with each other, like saying, hey, like, deep down, I feel like this, and like, what do we do? How do we, change? How do we move forward here? How do we transform?
So I suppose that energy is best function when you focus on like taking turns to share, and also try to work out some mutual compromise, rather than just kind of like, I shall just kind of not deal with it, and then look for some kind of like segue loopholes, and just kind of like avoid that confrontation, and then it leads to further issues down the road.
Yeah, I really like that kind of mutual diplomacy here, because the planet of individuality is going to the sign of partnerships and diplomacy, and the planet of diplomacy and partnership is going into, Scorpio is a bit of a at times can be a bit aggressive, but so it's a bit of a, I think you need to find, basically what I think you need to find the balance between individuality and kind of diplomacy, but it's going to be harder to do this because they're so weakened. I think this is what I want.
And the last thing I just want to like bring across before we move on to the next like big energy within September, which kind of influence our electionals for September, is that with this mutual reception, right, I would say that chemistry does not necessarily equal compatibility. So you have to like dive a bit deeper to see if you really are on the same page moving forward, or you actually will discover within the month of September that you're actually more like oil and water. So there's a lot of like this kind of deeper exploration, and if you can't really work out like, for example, even after like you share and take turns to really voice things out, but then you can't really get a mutual compromise or whatever, then it's time to move on as well. Yeah, rather than kind of, I find this period as kind of like a stress test a very good one actually, to kind of clear some or declutter some kind of expired relationships in your life that you've been kind of trying to hang on to, or not trying to acknowledge the issues within. And then all this is kind of like comes up and backsplatter into the face.
Yeah, I generally tend to agree with this, surely.
Yeah, so it can have good ramifications or results with this. So now let's move on to this one.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the other main energy shifts will be that Mercury actually enters Libra, and Mercury will actually get ready to station to go retrograde in the sign of Libra, starting on the 27th, so close to the end of September. And with that, it actually is very close to Pluto. And it's squaring Pluto in the midst of the station retrograde motion. And so it's the very last part of September that it happens. But then when Mercury is already approaching into the late degrees of Libra, that square between Mercury and Pluto is really strengthening. So how do you actually view this kind of like, well, I would say extended energy?
I mean, let's go maybe on a more communication level relation. We are on the relationship theme right now anyway. So whenever I think of Pluto, unfortunately, with the Mercury square or opposition, you can add a bit here, but let's maybe focus on the square. It's almost like combination where there's, because Pluto is a very deep planet, and when it's kind of agitating Mercury, it's one of the things I always say with this is shame. And you know, even in communication, in the words we speak, giving the other party or the other person almost trying to shame them into obedience or control. So this is one of the negative sides I do see happening, unfortunately, with this Pluto kind of hard aspect to Mercury. Is it doesn't always have to be like super outwardly aggressive and yelling, but it can be at times. Pluto will burst, but it can be also like these kind of like almost hidden kind of constant sly comments of you know, maybe it's like almost like negative comments, constantly twisting and turning some sort of wound, some sort of pain within yourself. And it can be like a psychological wound, it can be like a verbal wound, but it is a hurtful, can be a hurtful words kind of configuration here. And I urge you to guys to observe this and to see and to really look at it from a relationship perspective, because it maybe it isn't let's put it quite bluntly, it isn't the easiest time for relationships after the first part of September. So please be careful with this pattern, because when these deep topics of Venus in Scorpio, like we said already, when these come up and you need to discuss them with partners, business partners, with that Pluto square, that will already make it even more kind of difficult. We'll bring some positive things that are happening as well, so it's not too only bad, but this is one of the things I want to kind of urge or put your attention to observe.
Because I actually think about Mercury in Libra, because you'll be in the same sign. Well, Mars will be in Libra also in September. So it's like this kind of like, I gotta be polite, I mean, I gotta take the diplomatic way, and the mind, which is Mercury, like tend to weigh things like the scales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I think about Libra, there's a tendency to kind of struggle to make a decision.
Almost, yeah.
Or you rather just sit on the fence and just kind of like let things kind of, run its own course, or you just can go like all out back and forth regarding stuff. But when I think about Pluto, Pluto is like very black and white. It's very extreme. So when these two are in like a prolonged square, right? Siblings can be Mercury. So there can be like power struggles with siblings that can come out, or with your partner as well. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Or there's some kind of coercive, manipulative, controlling form of communication or messages that's being sent out in the process. Or when there's like discussion of sorts, which is Mercury, one may try to overpower the other, or try to like deliver something that's potentially not true, or there's some layers of, deeper layers of stuff that you need to dig through in order to uncover what's really real.
But I would even say manipulation.
Like, oh yeah, right. Like coercive, like coercive, yeah, like try to sway your opinion, but that's with agendas attached, personal agendas. And I actually thought of this one because like Pluto is the planet of death, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or from the like other realm, the invisible realm. And Mercury is messages. So maybe there's messages from the dead.
Totally.
So maybe some of you who are...
sorry. Go ahead.
So some of you may be more like psychic intuitive. You can, me and Ian have really like partnered up to do like a 6-part series on that. So we basically covered Mercury and Pluto in separate episodes, but those are like stuff that you may want to look at.
Yeah.
To kind of delve in deeper regarding this part of the conversation. And lastly, I actually put down here, like, you may be projecting your shadow side outwards to others.
That ties in with one of the points I wanted to put in as well, because it's a very kind of, when it's a hard aspect, again, it's very, very, the mind can get very suspicious, and it can start suspecting people of doing things that they're not actually doing. And like we said, like Donny mentioned, like people can sometimes, try to coerce you or start to manipulate you in conversations into things. But at times, this is the weird part of with the square or opposition. Always, it's like you can also be imagining that they're actually doing this. So this is where I really always urge people, and I urge myself, obviously, to kind of like, before you make that kind of final judgment, okay, they're manipulating, they're doing some bad things, they're wanting da-da-da-da-da-da-da, make sure, especially with this aspect and this combination, make sure you do some research to get some real proof that it's actually happening. Otherwise, it can be just like you being really, really suspicious and too much on the negative side, maybe.
Yeah, when I think about this square, right, it's definitely not something that leads to calmness in communication. Because with this square, I find that it's so difficult to be clearly heard and understood. Or certain things get lost in translation, it can be. Mm-hmm. Because, Pluto can be so kind of subjective, and it just holds on to whatever it's like. It's very like deep-rooted. It's almost like a deep-rooted beliefs that you just kind of paint that lens over. So when Mercury, which is information or discussions or other forms of communication that comes in, you see it through like a very subjective way. Mm-hmm. And you kind of react very extremely as well to certain, there's almost like your toes are ready to jump.
Yeah, very well said. It's like there's almost like no filter of I will, okay, maybe there's no truth in, maybe there's no that, there's almost like, yeah, they're manipulating me, they're trying to coerce me, like immediately, like extreme, total extreme.
And one
hopefully
thing
that Libra maybe will kind of ground it a little bit, bring that doubting or thinking of two sides to it.
And then hopefully. It's kind of, but on the well, depending how you see it, it also can be the best time ever with this prolonged square between Mercury and Pluto to eliminate anything that stands in your way, that kind of takes away your personal power, or kind of stops you from the way that you want to exert your power in a certain way. because of that coercion and manipulation, things will become so obvious to you that, oh, okay, like this person is trying to like feed me certain stuff, or I kind of discovered, like, be it like emails or text messages, Mercury, that this person has been doing like something shady behind me, which is Pluto. And then you kind of like sit on the fence first, collect all those information, and then later on confront that person. It may just come out like that.
That's better. That's a lot better. Like do that.
Yeah.
Get the information, get the research, proof.
Like, so although there's like patience and perseverance required, one thing to note though, don't give into procrastination. Don't just sit on the fence and just rely on the Libra energy for fear of making a wrong decision. That's sidestepping Libra energy as well. Yeah. See, you're like,
yeah, should I do this? Should I do that?
So anything that's really like deep-rooted issues, especially, I mean, this can be psychic, coming from Pluto in Capricorn, right? Internal structures and outward relational ones. You can fix all those things, but you just need to sit back and just maybe when Mercury is in its last direct square with Pluto, that's when you can take action. But I wouldn't say that September is a good time when Mercury squares Pluto for the first 2 times. Maybe you just need to sit on it and just kind of contemplate certain stuff first. And be patient, wait it out, wait for it to play out until a certain extent. And then when the final square actually takes place, that's when you can make the more informed decision. Yeah.
Nice.
I wouldn't say the first square or the second square are like very, very good times for that. Maybe that's when the issues start showing up. And then you need to kind of, probably go to your friends and collect certain information, or through third-party sources, or even hire a private investigator. That's very Mercury Pluto, to suss out all the suspicious things that has been festering in your mind. Yeah. So it's very much of a detective combination, I would say.
Exactly.
Or on another hand, you may actually realize that there's a lot of distorted interpretations on what's being said or communicated to you as well. It can be a time to clear up all those
This
misunderstandings.
is the place where I'm a little bit afraid of, because Mercury is the media, as well. So
right.
They can turn the wheels right now, I think, unfortunately, for, however long this can,
I think it's
a month and a half.
I think the Astro square is towards the 3rd week of September. And then
retro.
The very last square, when Mercury finally squares Pluto, will be around just after Halloween.
Okay, so
a good like 5 weeks of back and forth of Mercury and Libra.
So guys, you can see that for that long, obviously it won't be all the time, but like the media can really like turn the wheels of manipulation and control. Unfortunately, I'll just say it. I'm not tiptoe it, and it will.
Ian is telling you things without telling you directly.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to kind of like, but it's
things.
but it's a weird thing, because a lot of the information right now that is going to come out of that media, I would be really hesitant in a way doing my research, whatever it is coming, because it's geared towards getting those extreme emotional reactions and mental reactions, because Mercury, again, like to get those out of the people as well. So be, as grounded as possible. Do as much research as possible. If you see any vaccine, whatever news there is, do more research on it. This is what I'm trying to say to you.
I think also any data or information that's presented to you that looks nice, just take it with a pinch of salt. Because there's deeper agendas, like trying to sell you some agenda, that's like, or coercion or manipulation to kind of let you buy into a system in which you may later regret. I think that's as far as I would take it. But I think the best use of this energy is to listen. And with that, I think instinctive understanding will be high. We all need a bit of listening of the other party to kind of like balance our perspectives out. With Pluto squaring, I know it's hard. Everyone is like, I'm right, you're wrong. I gotta shame you. I gotta shame you. You know what I mean? Like the divisive nature is really, really high at this time. And it's probably fueled by paranoia or anger of the other. And fear also of the other party that doesn't necessarily agree with you. And we kind of sacrifice that listening capability.
One of the big things I do see here, guys, as well with Donny, what Donny said right now, and to add to it a little bit, is like the ones who are getting vaccinated, who are already vaccinated, will start to kind of shame the other party, because now the numbers are going up again, especially in countries that are getting colder.
Right.
And numbers are going to get up, and it's almost like the blame and shame game of, you didn't get vaccinated, this is when we are going to get locked down, this is going to extremely get, like, the wheels are going to be turning. With
very divisive. And I think with this square, this prolonged square is gonna, because after this Mercury square Pluto energy, for the extended period of time, like we mentioned, from third week of September to just after Halloween, which is beginning of November, we are actually heading into eclipse season.
Oh yes,
yeah. So what would be the best advice I would give? Really try to listen and open up your ears to kind of have an alternative perspective to balance things out. That Libra can be coming in handy around this time, and really think before you say anything. But of course, with that Pluto square, I know it's hard to kind of not kind of lash out. But then, like, just try to be nice and moderate with each other when you can. Because otherwise, that divisiveness can be really detrimental as this leads into the eclipse season, and things will kind of spin out of control with eclipses. Eclipses are portal energies. But there's an upside actually when I think about this square, because conversations, on the other hand, with this square can be very deep, very powerful, potentially supportive as well, and healing around this time. But of course, it depends who you talk to.
Basically, I would say I totally agree. There is a potential for deep healing, for deep conversation here, but like, again, you really need to go deeper with it, and you need to take the time, and you need to take the presence, and you need to be, even intellectually understand that what is going on, what is happening, and what is happening within myself. Because again, example, whatever camp you're in, with the vaccines, be it in the pro or negative, like the tendency to go into either of those extremes and start lashing out at the other is going to be there. So it's a requirement almost to go into that peaceful, presentful side of your body inside. What's kind of going to be like, how do I put this now? The thoughts that are going to come up with this square, they are going to be intense. But if you start to bring yourself back to it, it's easier to go into those deeper places of transformation, to transform those fears, to understand, and then go into those deeper discussions with the other party. Hopefully that.
And perhaps also by doing that, you will somehow like eliminate something that you previously are so adamant about. because Pluto is really that really deep things that you don't want to let go, and it can be some belief systems that comes across with it as well. Yeah, that comes with it. So I would say just kind of look out from the third week of September all the way till the whole Mercury retrograde finishes with that final square to Pluto, and there will be around like 2nd or 3rd of November, depending where you are. So for the whole of October, it can be like a media circus.
Yep.
And you just have to take it with a pinch of salt and just like don't kind of jump on it, and voice very like very subjective, emotionally biased viewpoints and opinions, because those will actually kind of feeds into itself into this whole vortex of dark energy in which you're entering. And do you want to share your screen and see what electionals we have built on?
Yeah, let's take a look at let's take a look at a couple of charts. So guys, I'm going to preface this by, I'm usually, when I present charts right now within this kind of context, what we're doing with Donny, I'm talking about usually the day. I'm not talking about this specific moment. I'm usually talking about this, the day, in this case, the 2nd of September. And so please don't look at the houses when we're, looking at the charts I picked out, but more let's focus on, let's say, the general themes or aspects and dignities and placements of planets and things here. So always, for me, some of you might know already, the moon for me is the most important when we're doing almost anything electional. Especially, I gotta preface this, is when we're doing something with the public. So this is, in this case, we have the moon in a nice place. We have it in the domicile position of Cancer. It's still a cardinal sign. It's a waning moon, so maybe not starting anything new isn't the best here. But we're going to see here that Venus still, luckily we talked a lot about Venus being in Scorpio. In this case, early September, we still have Venus in Libra. So that's still good for relationship matters, So, and right now you can also see it's doing an applying trine to Jupiter here. And waning trine already from Saturn, and Mercury right now already entered Libra and is doing an applying trine to Saturn and let's say a wider applying trine to Jupiter. So this is, in my mind, when we're looking at this combo, I really like it for communication in general, with relationships with family members. The only thing I don't like about this is the thing we didn't mention it, but Pluto is squaring, or sorry, whatever way you want to look at it, Venus is squaring Pluto. So we don't really like that, but and it is applying, so it's more stronger. So in general, it is a good time, I think, for communication inside relationships. Jupiter helps, Saturn helps, because Mercury is getting and applying a trine from Saturn, or it's like a grounded place for communication, exchanging information, because both signs, Libra and Aquarius, are a lot to do with exchanging information. So it's a good time to do that with family members. Now, be a little bit careful with this Pluto Venus square, because especially if you're doing it more in romantic relationships, some sort of jealousy, some sort of power dynamics can come up there as well. But generally, I like this time with the Cancer moon.
Or it's time to trash out certain deep-seated issues with family members.
I think that Pluto Venus would love that, actually.
And so let's look at the next date that I have, which is the 17th of September. And this one, I've basically put Mars angular on the 10th house cusp as the main kind of driver for this chart. So Mars conjunct MC, And it's the day of Venus and the hour of the sun. So depending where you are, you just adjust the Mars to conjunct the MC. And that will be the chart roughly that you'll be working with on the 17th of September, or depending where you are, plus minus 1 day. And when I look at that Mars conjunct MC energy is wanting to be in charge, but yet Mars is in detriment in Libra. So, but this somehow can be employed if you are going to start an entrepreneurial business, or basically starting your own business and being your own boss of a business that's Venusian ruled as well. And since that Mars is in mutual reception to Venus, Venus has already entered Scorpio, and these two planets are linked. This combination, basically, if you have a business surrounding like transforming other people's self-worth and esteem, probably through like something aesthetically driven, or clothing driven, or art driven, this can be pretty helpful. As in, like, for example, if someone wants to start a business surrounding art therapy, perfect regarding this. Because Venus is actually applying to trine that Neptune before it actually squares that Jupiter, which may not be a bad thing. It just tells me that this business will be surrounding, like, maybe you as a boss healing someone via art therapy. This can be one of those manifestations, or something that deals with like personal shopping. You shop for that person, have a wardrobe to kind of transform the way they feel about their body and their self-worth and value. This can be pretty good for that as well, amongst other things. Or you can be some form of an independent contractor. If you want to go into freelance, this can be pretty good for that as well, to do some graphic work or some artwork, like maybe on Fiverr.com, or like, you know, like other gig economy websites. Maybe you can contemplate using this chart to publish your profile on those platforms. It may actually help. Or just something that's Venus related. What else?
It does seem like a very money goals, social goals, economic goals type of business chart.
Yeah,
actually.
because it's like with that Mars angular on a 10th house, right, in Libra, the desire to be recognized is very strong. And Mars very high up in the sky can also mean that you already have a very established sense of direction as well. So in terms of work, it can be really great. And then since like Mars is like in the 10th, and then mutual reception with Venus in the 11th, there are some money to be made.
And ruler of the first in the second as well. Yes.
So this is a very, and this is probably something that you have been thinking about it for a while, because Moon and Saturn are together. So initially they may be like, oh, let's just kind of hold it to later and do it later. But then Moon has already separated from Saturn. So there's this thing in election that's called transfer of light. So so the Moon actually imprint Saturn's energy and bring it forward to Jupiter, which can kind of magnify that potential for success. It's almost like you've worked hard for it, and then you kind of enjoy the abundance later. So from something like restrictive and oppressive or limited, as per Saturn's like keywords, it switches the energy into Jupiterian keywords, which are like abundance and, you know, all those things. I even wrote down something like, this chart is probably good to start a business that's humanitarian based or have some sort of social impact as well. It's very good for online businesses, to add on to what I mentioned earlier. But on a more personal, relational level, because of that Mars and Venus that's highlighted, and I put that Mars, angular on an angle, you can probably use this chart to kind of confide intimately to a close friend about existing relationship issues that's left unaddressed, in order to get some form of sobering information, to kind of wake yourself up on certain potential delusions and illusions you have around existing relationships. And last but not least, since Venus is in the 11th house, joining like a spiritual group, esoteric, metaphysical, or astrological group, in order to build profound relationships that's also practical in nature as well. That's what I have for this chart. I mean, although Venus is squaring that Moon and Saturn, you can get really useful yet practical insights into your emotional world as well.
Yeah, maybe maybe just a tiny bit of not good enough can just percolate there if you join some groups or something with that.
Yeah. Because the next aspect Moon will make is that conjunction with Jupiter, that higher knowing, that higher knowledge of things may actually come forth. So some good stuff there. And the Sun is in the 9th house, and it's a planetary joy over here as well.
Oh, nice.
So it's almost like that. Although it's in Virgo, but then like it's almost like you need to look into the finer details of life in order to get that higher knowing of things. Yeah, and it works pretty well with that Venus in the 11, be it Placidus or whole sign house, can be pretty useful for that. Anything to add regarding to this month's like energies?
I guess only the Mercury retrograde, you guys. We're about to enter, soon, a couple of weeks into the shadow. I've always observed that the shadow period, the pre-shadow period to the retrograde is most often the more intense one. More things come your way that you need to take action on during the retrograde. You need to work, you need to research, you need to create, you need to make, and be prepared for that coming in during the shadow. So this is like, I would say, more prominent from, let's say, the 10th, approximately the 10th of September, maybe 8th, around that time. Mm-hmm. I usually use the 3-week period for shadow. It depends on your taste. And, with the retrograde, whatever comes your way, new things during the retrograde, I would still be holding off with them and doing research with them. This is important to do. But if it's something you've been doing for a while and something that's been building, you wanted to purchase something that's been, these opportunities will be brought to you during the retrograde. But if it's totally something new, I would do research during the retrograde. And then after the retrograde is done, then start purchasing new things and taking action with entirely new things. This is important for you.
Yeah. So till next month then for October's energies.
See you in October, guys.
Yeah, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Very important.
Channels, and have a careful September. But I think a lot of subliminal and hidden truths will be revealed as well with this energy for September. So, guys, take care.
Guys, take care. Bye.
All right. So, goodbye.